we'll go to Mahila Housing Trust presentation, which is...
Yeah, so I was earlier asked to speak on how to scale up PMAY and then also probably social audit. So my presentation is going to be a mix of the two. And Mahila Housing Trust, the mission is to improve the habitats of poor women in the informal sector, to improve their economic productivity. We work across 8 states in India, and we have been very closely involved in the habitat development process and been working very closely with the government. So we have been formulating meaningful partnerships with government and government institutions over a long period of time. And so far as Gujarat is concerned, we have been directly involved in action by conducting demand surveys. We work with GIDR to help them conduct demand surveys. And then we are also a member of the Slum Rehabilitation Committee set up in Ahmedabad for the ISSR under public-private partnership. And under the Affordable Housing Project, we have been trying to formulate Resident Welfare Association with the AMC, and conducted social audits of 9 cities and nagarpalikas for PMAY within the state. So I'm going to use these processes to say how local innovations have been done, first of all, because many local innovations have been done by the corporations themselves, how it can be improved further and probably fed back into the policies to scale up. So in the city of Ahmedabad, under the 2010 policy from 2010 to 2013, under the PPP policy, which is the first vertical, there were 3,500 houses which got initiated and completed. And from 2013 to 2018, almost over approximately 13,000 have been cleared, but only 657, so it's not one site, but 2 sites, have been completed and allotted. And in all these places, we have been involved with the private sector developer to try and help mobilize people and ensure eligibility. And the issue is that when you start talking of eligibility and such a huge scheme where huge asset building is happening, there are several, elements working at the local level, and the city municipal corporation starts facing litigations from the community on the eligibility criteria. And so what has happened, they have tried hard, and they have built layers of transparency. So for example, the developer signs, we sign as an NGO on the eligibility, and there are almost 3 departments of the municipal corporation which sign and examine and re-examine eligibility. However, that is taking time. And I understand that this policy of 2013, which has, is talking of premiums both ways, but the processes involved are very, very long. So we really need to look into how these processes can be curbed. In Ahmedabad, I have seen almost, I think 13, 14 sites are cleared. 2 have been completed. But 3 of those sites are really proving difficult because there are a significant number of houses with better living conditions beyond 50 square meters, 2-storied. And it's an issue, and I personally feel that this should be tackled by giving better infrastructure services and improving the living conditions, because those are going to be tough to really get mobilized. And as again said by the municipal corporations of Surat and Ahmedabad, there are several livelihood processes taking place. In Ahmedabad, we were actually faced with a lot of difficulty with a lot of small shops happening in these places, and we have been able to tackle it along with the municipal corporation. It has been very proactive, and it has taken decisions as to how to or whether to give shops or not, because the policy only speaks of residential buildings. So what has been done is that we do a panchnama. So locally at this level, we go out into the complexes, and we actually do a panchnama of the shops that are existing. And a lot of planning goes because shops always want to be on the front end, and they have to be really convinced or adjusted by the developer, and a lot of interaction on planning. Several other things like, because the policy still says 2010, and we are 8 years past that policy, there are residents who only have one eligibility proof. And the Slum Rehabilitation Committee really meets and looks at those eligibility proofs and then decides. And one of the things that we have done in Ahmedabad is that such residents will get a house even if they don't have a proof, but they'll have to pay, the amount that is being paid by economically weaker section residents to get a EWS house under affordable housing project, which is 3 lakh. And we are recommending that Sabarmati Riverfront had given houses for 65,000 rupees as a contribution from an individual resident, and we are recommending it to the municipality. So several local level innovations have been done. Rajkot, for example, has decided that, it will identify the residents and give the households in the scheme without the, looking at the date really. But such innovations are currently remaining at the local level. If I talk of affordable housing project, and that's especially for the smaller class cities, I think there is a lesser acceptability in smaller class cities to go vertical, and about 25% to 30%. Now, this is not only from Gujarat, this is also from other states where we have been experiencing, are not interested in occupying the housing. As said by the municipal corporations themselves, a lot of them are really still unaware that they have been, allocated the houses, and a campaign needs to be started on how to reach out to them. So what's happening is that the municipal corporation is really engaged in rolling it out, and meanwhile there are housing stock which remains unoccupied, and currently there is no mechanism on how to be, using this unoccupied housing stock, or what has to be done with it. And that mechanism really needs to be rolled out as soon as possible, because there are others who may be wanting this. Auda already discussed, how they are moving from completely horizontal living to houses which have lifts, and this is a huge, huge behavior change. And this process of forming resident welfare association is there, and we are trying to implement it, and it's difficult, but that really needs more resources. The kind of resources being allocated now are not really sufficient. Secondly, I think by policy on the RWA, there are no women. So, that really makes it difficult, and we really will have to look how these houses are maintained over a period of time. So more democratic processes need to be brought in, and more investment into that. Despite the involvement of banks, there are still last 20 to 30% chunk of people who do not really get loans, and we need to look at how more and more people-centric financial institutions need to be brought in. Let me talk of the beneficiary-led construction. If I, almost 20,45,866 houses sanctioned. That's what I got from the net. Maximum number, because there are a larger number of smaller Nagarpalikas. And we conducted audits for 3 Nagarpalikas, Visnagar, Vijapur, and Patan. We conducted audits for 9 cities, but of those Nagarpalikas, 3 where beneficiary-led construction was going on. And as compared to the demand in the survey, these Nagarpalikas have, prepared projects for 20 to 40% of the demand that was generated in the city. And in class 1 cities like Ahmedabad, there was demand for almost, 8,000 households demanding that they wanted to go for beneficiary-led construction. Now we couldn't, as we couldn't clear those files, Ahmedabad, none of the metro cities, and there is a big issue of having, a legal title as a prerequisite. And I think unless and until de facto tenures are recognized, for example, even in the polls of Ahmedabad being declared a heritage city, HTDR is being given to houses which are going to, maintain the heritage character. And that HTDR of heritage is difficult, because much more HTDR is being given by this slum policy vis-a-vis that HTDR. So the market, has mechanisms to get additional TDRs vis-a-vis heritage. Why can we not link them with beneficiary-led construction or the CLSS? The simple reason being that polls, the records are not yet updated. And it's not only a matter of updation, it's actually a matter of cleaning them. So how do we recognize these de facto tenures to be able to do BLC in metro cities? Additionally, for the smaller nagarpalikas, beneficiaries do have bigger plots, and they do want to use the subsidy available as a value add to the existing house, doing extensions, etc. But some of the nagarpalikas, so it's quite individual driven. Vijapur really accepted that, and the people are benefiting that. But some of the other nagarpalikas are being quite stringent, and people are not sort of adding it on, but using it as a alienated 25 square meter house and doing the plan passing processes and the charges for that twice, which is quite cumbersome. They are being charged twice. I think we have gone online and digital, but that again is, I mean, itself from the nagarpalika's mouths, they were saying that, you know, there is a lesser capacity to handle these online digital transactions, and therefore subsidies, that has to get converted into subsidies really being released fast. So my last slide, how do we capitalize on past and current parallel initiatives by the government? I think two very good initiatives in the past, and one in the, which is happening in the parallel, which has been missed out, is that the government of Gujarat has been, taken a landmark decision by, releasing the land under the Urban Land Ceiling Act, occupied by the poor. Almost, I think 33,000 square meter of land is going to be released, and the poor are going to be given titles, and it's a parallel process which has started. And how do we really use them, even in the metro cities? And how do we use these lands or these households who are going to get titles to link them with PMAY? Again, many slum clearance board houses and plots are lying in the open, which are titled and have clear titles. For example, in Ahmedabad, I know of 300 plots being owned by slum clearance board and given to people, and that's not being tied up currently with the beneficiary-led construction. So I would like to stop here with this and just say that how do we capitalize on these initiatives, and how these local innovations which have been created by the municipal corporations and municipalities feed back into the policy so that we scale up. Thank you so much.